Welcome to the Perspective segment of the Fine Line Video Journal. I'm Jan Willis from the eBeam Initiative, and with me today is a longtime friend and advisor to the initiative, Colin Harris. Colin is the founder and chief operating officer of PMC-Sierra. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you, Jan.
Thanks for coming down from Vancouver today, and I want to start by congratulating you on over 20 years of success as a fabulous semiconductor company.
It's been a great ride.
Well, it's also really great for our audience to hear from not only their customer, but the customer's customer, which is what you represent today. So I'd like to start with just having you share what's driving your business today and how it translates into products.
Sure, it's a great question. Big data has been the trend that we've been riding as a company for the last 5 years. It's been a lot of work, but we have 4 product lines, frankly, that are ramping quite quickly, and it's great to have growth drivers like that. The first is 12 gig SAS, which takes millions of disk drives and puts them into a very high-speed bus, which can be used to access data. The second is our flash controllers, where we take chips that make ordinary flash chips behave very, very, very well, and it's used to speed up access in data centers. The third is a little bit more closer to the user, where we actually do the chips in the remote radio heads that the cell phones talk to. And finally, last but not least, we're sort of revolutionizing metro networks with 100 gig solutions, all related to getting big data to people.
What about the design styles and the type of semiconductors you're making?
Well, you can imagine with that range of designs. We go all the way from our next-gen OTN chip will be 16 nanometer over 800 million gates, so a very, very large VLSI design. And the remote radio head chips are a little smaller, sometimes 48 and 28 nanometer with a heavy analog content. All of the chips have embedded processors now as well, so each one has a SoC and a software content with it.
I read recently in an article that you'd said that the semiconductor industry could no longer rely on Moore's Law for advancement. I'm sure there's a lot behind that. Can you share your insights behind that?
Yeah, I think this goes back to when a new technology node came in over the years, we would expect it to be lower power, higher speed, and lower cost, right? And in 28 nanometer and going to 16, what we saw was we may get more performance, but the cost didn't go down. So the cost per function or the cost per gate, the die may be smaller, but the cost to do something on chip was not any less. So yet we do see everybody going to 16 nanometer. It's a very well adopted node, very popular. So, am I an idiot, or did I say something wrong? I don't think so. I think the big invention that happened was the FinFET. So the power problems, which we were really bad in 40 and 28 nanometer, get largely resolved by the FinFET. And so I think that's why 16 nanometer, a lot of products are going there. Next generation will need something yet again to make that work.
Well, in fact, many are already working on the 10 nanometer and 7 nanometer logic nodes. One of the things that could be happening is the adoption of complex shapes on masks. From your perspective, what could that do to impact your business?
Yeah, that could be very helpful in 2 ways. Anything the complex shapes make for the same technology you use, you can put more on the die, and that's going to lower cost, right? If you use all this infrastructure, it gets me a better outcome with a smaller die. That will help a lot. And the second thing is design rules are getting increasingly complex and hard to manage. If we can use shapes to ease that process, then our design cycles will come down.
Okay, great. I've mentioned that you've collaborated with the eBeam Initiative. You've also collaborated for many years with the GSA. If you had something you wanted to encourage the industry to work on together, what would you say?
I think right now the challenge that we're facing is we see a lot of global trade barriers coming up in semiconductors. Traditionally, semiconductor industry had no barriers, and you could ship same chip anywhere in the world that would do the function. Now we see, through implicit and explicit moves that it's harder and harder to call the semiconductor industry a global market. I think that's going to hurt innovation, because instead of doing something new and innovative, you're doing a chip for this market, a chip for that market, and that's really going to hurt.
I also know that you've spent a lot of time and have a lot of experience in China. Is there any particular advice that you could offer for suppliers in China?
That's a good question. I think though, the obvious thing I think is you have to respect the local culture and the local government and what they're trying to do, as well as standing up for yourself. But I think first you have to understand why people are doing the things they are, and when you do that, usually you can come to some way forward in dealing with it. And China is a very, very good market for PMC-Sierra.
Well, with that, thank you very much, Colin, for sharing your perspectives. And thank you for listening to the Spring 2015 edition of the Fine Line Video Journal.